Well, got myself ahead of the intro. Lovely. Hello, and welcome to today's session. Weirdly on a Friday, but on a Friday on purpose, really. If it isn't too cheesy, it's Valentine's Day, and I want to talk about relationships because the one thing that's going to be massive this year and that's going to make or break your business is trust. So we're in this weird world where everybody is shouting for attention, but the brands that are winning are not just the loudest ones. They're the ones building genuine relationships, because we need to connect before we can convert. So I've got a fantastic guest in Remeny. Hi, Remeny.
Hi.
Founder of Brilliant and Human. She's been helping agencies and professional services get under the skin of what their clients really think. Working with them for over 20 years, she knows exactly how to turn that kind of feedback you might get from customers and clients into apologies, somebody just tried to call me weirdly, into really actionable stuff that marketeers can do. So we're gonna talk about supercharging our client relationships, and I think right now is a great time to do that because, you know, without ranting on about it, the world has become more uncertain, more unstable. People want reassurance, and in fact, there's some nice, interesting data that shows that brands that offer that sense of safety and security are more highly valued by more than 2/3 of buyers. Yet many businesses fall short in delivering that consistent, authentic communication. So what's even better, before we kind of go into some of the detail with Remeny, is that Remeny has created this amazing reports based on survey data, which I think you can probably explain better than me, actually. But you've got a report coming out later, haven't you?
Yes, yeah, and so end of March.
Great.
So
go on. Well, I was going to say, let's kick off with the first question. So, yes, you spent years listening to clients. How can marketing address the common gaps you keep hearing about, especially around that bit around trust and communication?
Well, I think by listening to your clients, you can learn why they love you, why they trust you, and why they're loyal to you, and then feed that into your marketing. But then by building your relationships with your clients through your marketing before you even met them, you can then hopefully ensure that you build that trust and the day-to-day nurturing of the relationship into a new client. But it's all about listening to what your potential clients want and think, and getting those themes from before they've bought to then get them to actually understand you and buy from you and know that you are the right business for them. But you've got to start with that trust. Without trust, you've got nothing.
And it's a funny word, this, isn't it? Because there isn't a single answer to trust, is there? No, I think about any relationship, whether it's with, a loved one or whether or not it's with business and clients. There isn't a natural, trust is this all-encompassing thing that represents more than the sum of its parts, if you see what I mean. And we were talking before this, and I thought, how interesting. We're talking before about what the biggest complaints are. What is breaking trust with brands?
I mean, interestingly, I think that one of the key ones is communication, lack of communication, which of course is all about marketing, and the lack of businesses in communicating with their existing clients in a consistent way. But also with that is that proactive piece, is being proactive with your engagement with your clients, and also processes. So if you can get your processes, communication and proactivity right, you can get that flow of engagement with your existing clients right, which can then feed into the way you're engaging with your potential clients. Your potential clients, if they're going most, as much as we all do the marketing, one of the most common ways, obviously, people get new clients is through word of mouth. And of course, if your clients don't trust you, your clients certainly aren't going to trust you.
No.
And so you have to build that trust with your existing clients, and also build your credibility up so that you've got the stories which you can share in your marketing. But that is all built on trust as well. So it's all about that flow of engagement. But yes, I think communication, processes, and proactivity are the three things that clients complain the most about, or want better, more effective ways of working.
Yes, and you talk a lot. We've talked a lot about consistent marketing, because ultimately, one of the end games is to turn clients into advocates. If you're in professional services and you do the monitoring of where your new business comes from, I bet a large portion of it comes from referrals. So
Yes.
how does this play a part? How does marketing make that a better thing?
Well, I think the marketing, again, as you say, it's about the consistent message, but to have the consistent message, you've got to have the work to back that up, and the stories to back that up. And so I think sometimes it's very difficult sometimes for businesses to understand actually why people like them and why they work with them. And they just assume, they think they know. But again, until you've listened to your clients and asked them, you often don't know. We all make assumptions. But then again, if you can understand the reasons why, then you can feed that into your marketing, and then the marketing can help you build your reputation and your credibility and the trust, because no one's going to work with you if they don't trust you. So it's kind of it's absolutely critical. And it's also about building those human relationships. So it might be that you do some marketing, that's great, but you've got to show your personality, you've got to show the culture that you're working with and your values, and you've got to make sure that's going to work with your potential clients. So you're targeting the right potential clients in your marketing so that you can get the right clients, because you want to work with people you want to work with. But it's all tied into building solid relationships.
And it's really interesting you talked about personality there, which is a really challenging element, particularly for those in professional services, because we've grown up in a more corporate, usually a more conservative way and approach, because we're experts in what we do. We want to be seen as experts, and somehow experts are a little bit more authoritative. And it's interesting that the data shows that 82% of customers trust brands and individuals with a strong personal identity. And I think this is a really tough nut to crack. But we have a few questions. Yes, keep asking questions. We have a question from Elena, actually, which I think is really useful, which is to look at the other side of this, which is, what are the biggest trust breakers you see in client relationships, and how can we avoid them?
Oh, that's a big question. What's the biggest trust breakers? Not delivering and not being honest about it. And again, the feedback, one of my questions when I'm interviewing clients is, does the business show a proactive honesty? So are they upfront with what they're doing? Are they transparent? Do they tell them if they don't understand something or they can't deliver it in time? And I think that if you can't deliver or you'll have a problem, you need to be really open. Otherwise, you're going to break your reputation. And then so that is absolutely critical, is being really upfront and honest with your clients. But I think, again, how can marketers avoid it? I suppose you can't promise something that you can't deliver when you're marketing. So when I was I worked in agencies for 18 years, heading up the relationship building, the new business and the marketing. And, the things that, how new business can be. Maybe I'm making a sweeping statement. Of course, they want to just win new business.
Yes.
And so I would do the marketing, I would build the relationships. Then the new business team would say, yeah, we can do anything to make the money. And then the team behind, who are actually going to build whatever it is or do whatever it is, would go, well, I can't do that. And so, or, that's not realistic for the money. And so actually by selling yourself to your potential clients in a way that is not honest and it's just a yes, yes, yes game, is you're going to ruin your reputation and break the trust. So I think, marketing new business and kind of relationship build is absolutely tied together, but you need to be working with the team who's going to deliver. Otherwise, you're going to break the trust.
And actually, that brings me to another point, which is often in marketing, we consider ourselves that bit, just before or surrounding the salespeople, and that bit before sale. Actually, if you get the whole process right, then the impact is much greater. And one of the elements that you and I have also discussed is onboarding, because it's often looked at as this very operational process of, here's where we send the invoices, blah, 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 blah. But actually, it's a really crucial first touch point.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that when I've spoken to businesses, they've often said, oh yeah, we've got some onboarding papers which we send our clients, but it's more like contracts. And actually, it's such a key part of building the human relationship to educate your clients so that they are aware of what's expected of them as much as what's expected of the business. Because it's got to be relationship led. It's got to be about, trying to avoid that transactional relationship. I think starts with day one of working with the client and building that trust through the onboarding piece, and actually remembering to not only onboard the clients, but it's also making sure that the team is onboarded with the client. And in the middle of a project is making sure that you've got the team continues to know what's going on with the client and know what they want, what their goals are. But then also sometimes you'll get a new marketing director or something from the organization, from your client. And if they're new, if they're not onboarded on the project, they don't know what's in scope and they don't know what to expect. And so then you start breaking the trust down, because they get frustrated, the team gets frustrated because the client is asking for things that aren't in scope, but they don't know it, etc. I mean, it's just, without strong onboarding processes, setting expectations, everything can fall down. But again, feeding that back into your marketing, you've got to build that. That needs to be part of your marketing, and share what you do so that actually people build that trust. I sound like a broken record. It's so important.
And it's funny, isn't it? We're just transferring our CRM, it's a personal thing, but we're transferring our business CRM to Pipedrive. And the experience and onboarding has been so terrific. They've just, and I've dealt with a lot of CRMs in my life, but just simply that when we went for it, that I needed to upgrade to a different kind of model. Immediately, it's I'm invited to a webinar to look at what I can do. So that the elements in that is that I feel supported.
Yeah,
and that I am not a CRM expert, by any means. So I'm relying on you, and they're just a SaaS software company.
Yes, yeah.
It still feels like they care about me. I just thought it was a really impressive onboarding experience from Pipedrive. So it's definitely that kind of element has meant that I've mentioned them today.
Yes. Well, I mean, on the flip side, it reminds me of one of my clients who they were a learning platform and had some of the biggest brands in the world. And they brought me on originally to help them build their business case to get more clients, so to interview their clients. And I said I'd like a range of clients to interview. Their clients were so unhappy with the way that they were being onboarded and engaged with and sold to and overpromised that the average score was something like 22% satisfaction. And after the first 3 interviews, I had to say, look, this is actually unethical for me to continue to do this, because you're not delivering, and your client, you're breaking the trust with your clients because you're not, you're over-promising, completely under-delivering. And one of their clients said they felt bereft at the way they've been treated. And I
don't want to hear that, do you?
I know, you really don't. It was a horrible, horrible experience. And then I said, so I stopped. 6 months later, I started doing the interviews again. And because they had talked to their clients in an honest way, said, sorry, we can't do this, but we can do this, and we're going to deliver this way. And they built the trust back up. And over that 6 months, their satisfaction rate went up to 77%, because they'd proactively looked at how they can deliver to their clients in a way. But before that, their whole reputation could have been wiped out.
Yes. Yeah.
And actually their whole, or all their marketing. There's no point in marketing and doing new business if you're not going to be honest about what you're doing and how you're doing, because that will break your reputation and break everything you're doing. So it's so important to be honest.
Actually, one of our listeners is has made a really valid point. I'm going to put it up there and then try and read it out. Sorry, I might need to find my glasses. Sorry, old lady. So Christina says, I recently presented on this internally. Only being seen as upfront pre-sales is very old school and truthfully wrong. We can influence every stage, including moving clients to referrers and even advocates. And I think this is, thanks, Christina, that is absolutely spot on. It's exactly what I'm saying, which is marketing doesn't start and end pre-sales.
No, absolutely.
Actually, she brings another really valid point, which is, whose role is it? Marketing's role to help educate internal stakeholders?
Well, I think yes, to a point. I mean, one of the things that in my report I talk about is the lack of understanding from clients of what businesses often do. They know what the one thing is that they do, but they haven't been told that they could do X, Y, and Z on top of whatever it is. And so the idea that I've got a whole chapter on the fact you should be marketing to your clients. Don't forget about your existing clients, and actually take the time to build the relationships so that you can actually market to them and pick up the phone and say, hey, we've got this great idea, but in a way that they actually appreciate. But it's not just that one-to-one engagement. It's making sure that you're engaging with your clients with marketing, with events. Again, some of the things that so many of my end clients say to me when I'm interviewing them is, we'd love to meet other clients and have, build that community and find out what they might be doing, because actually it could help us.
Wow.
So it's that, it's nurturing the relationships in a way that actually you're also, it is about marketing. It is about building those relationships. And the lost opportunities to upsell to your clients are enormous. I mean, I've had situations where clients have, we've opened up like 40% profit off the back of hearing what the clients want, and delivering new services or renewing a retainer or whatever it might be. But that's just by taking the time to market to them and listen to them and tell them what other things they can do, or opening up other doors. I was speaking to the National Trust the other day for my client, and during that call we opened up a whole new department within the National Trust for my client to start working with, because the clients, my clients are often afraid of sounding salesy and pushy, but if you've got the right relationship, you can do it. You can build those relationships so you can talk honestly about it. So it's a very, very good point. It's great.
I feel like we need as marketeers to be as active so we need to be as active, but also help educate internally on the value of that proactivity of being one step ahead. One of the areas that you touched on there, in fact, it runs basically through everything we've ever spoken about, which is talking to your customers and clients, isn't it? Which is, and it amazes me. I go to a lot of B2B events, and people say, I'll say, who's your audience? And they'll go, oh, ICP is. And I'll go to the marketeer, have you ever spoken to any of your customers?
Yes.
And you think, well, I'm not expecting you to, if you've got, one of those, if you're a business that has like 20,000 customers, but sometimes as marketeers, we need to remind ourselves what are the people that buy our services think of us, and just have a conversation and involve a third party so we can have independent thinking as well around this, or sit with customer service for a day or two and really hear the feedback, because we're human too.
Yes. Well, and people, I mean, that's what I do. It's those impartial interviews, and it's just they love it. Generally, the clients love it because they feel heard and listened to. And then if they do have a complaint, I'm not going to react to it like the business is. I'm just taking the feedback, and then I can feed it back to my client. But the not only does it help identify any issues or worries the client might have in a way that they feel safe, it also opens up opportunities within marketing. Partly it might be uncovering new services or opportunities, but it's by listening to your clients and learning why they like you, love you, or don't. And then you can pull out the tone of voice, you can get testimonials, you can get referrals, you can feed this all into your marketing. And personality, you mentioned personality the other day. It's such a great way. If you have the personality of the client and the team in your marketing, people buy from people. You need that more than ever now with AI. You were saying earlier about like law firms, people trying to come across as professional. If you don't show your personality, who knows who it is? Is it AI or is it the people? So I think more than ever, you need the human in your marketing.
Yes, absolutely.
And I mean, I feel so passionately about that.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's so. You see so many websites that don't show the culture, the personality, the values.
And they're so vanilla. I wouldn't know what's that one, but partly because they're all the same color as Scott said in our last talk. Everything is blue, and you just after a while you don't know which site you're on.
Yes.
I just want to throw this comment up by David because I think it segues into it. I think you have to be careful here. Being an expert can be or can have a negative impression by leaning towards trusted advisor shows you're listening and implies a more collaborative approach. And I love that. And there is a book called Trusted Advisor. I think I might have it on one of my shelves somewhere, which I read many, many years ago, which, really it's a book for sales folk, but it's fabulous. And as marketeers, I'll dig it out and put it in comments. If anybody, it might be 100 years old now, but it's a really good thing because one of the things we're trying to do, and I talk about thought leadership a lot, and particularly because social media and thought leadership should be lovely bedfellows, but it's all turning into a bit of a mush pit at the moment. So, but thought leadership should be a very natural part of being a trusted leader. But I'd love your thoughts on why, businesses struggle with thought leadership that actually resonates. I mean, partly because they lean into AI badly. But how can thought leadership strengthen that client relationship? What is that relationship between thought leadership and client?
Well, I mean, for me, my whole 20 years of marketing I think I've lent into the whole thought leadership thing more than anything within a sector, because I believe that if you can be a thought leader or you can show you really understand your clients or your potential clients or the sector they're in, if you can prove it with your thought leadership, they're going to trust you, and you can then build those relationships. So the agency I was there for 10 years. I led on their marketing and their relationship building. But what we did was thought leadership white papers. And the white papers were for example, one of the sectors was the higher education. We got to the point that with those reports, we did one every year, the whole sector was waiting for them. And I had a relationship with every single head of marketing or communications or digital in every university in the country, because we had the thought leadership. So I was building the trust, building the relationships, and we had the knowledge. So people trusted us, and they knew we could deliver because we knew that our sector, that was our differentiator. And so I think by taking the time, being brave to truly take the time to do thought leadership well is so important. Do it badly, then you've just completely messed up. I mean, I had another client who I would review their white papers, and there'd be errors, and it was just so generic, so beige, that it was just like, why are you bothering? And so you've got to get it right. And I think the point that last gentleman mentioned about being a trusted advisor, I think is absolutely key and right as well. It's being an expert is one thing, and I think clients often say to me they want their business to be challenging them because they are the expert. However, you might be the expert in what you're doing, but you're not the expert in their business, even if you know the sector. So it's about getting that balance of your expertise, their expertise, working together in kind of a perfect harmony to actually deliver what the end client wants and needs. But don't forget to be able to know that you can challenge and have discussions with your clients so that you can get the right result, because you all want the right results. So I think it was a very good point.
Yeah. And it is about being, I mean, look at us. We had a list of questions. We've wandered off all over the place. Anybody who knows me knows that that's the way my brain works. But actually, that's part of the joy, isn't it? Of, being a trusted advisor is about listening. If I just sat here woodenly reading out questions, it would be very boring. But because hearing what you're saying and what our audience is saying, I'm adjusting everything. And so it's an engaging, well, I'm finding it engaging anyway. I'm more interested in what as a customer. I'd love to know if you've seen strategies that really successfully build. I mean, you mentioned one earlier on, but build trust with clients and potential customers. I'm really keen to know some examples, really.
Well, I mean, I kind of want to just go back to the key word you just said, which was strategies. So I would say that a lot of businesses don't take the time to learn what their clients actually want and their strategic thinking. And so it's really important for a business to take the time to be more strategic and to deliver and be proactive in your thinking to engage with your clients so that you can deliver what they need and want by being strategic. And that's about the process, being proactive as well. It sort of ties in. But I mean, I had one client who they fixed all the kind of issues within the business, and then I spoke to them again a year later, and all the clients said they wanted them to be delivering a strategic service, and so then within 6 months they were making 40% profit off the back of the new service that they were now able to deliver, and so I think by being strategic yourself as a business and understanding what your clients think and want, putting that into your own business strategy or marketing strategy and what you can be delivering, as well as being strategic for your clients, is really, really important. Yes. If that makes any sense. There's a lot of strategy thrown around there.
No. Because if you have a plan, an approach, a strategy, you stop it being one and done. I think that's the thing with marketing and sales is, once they're across the line, that's it. We're done. They're a customer. And whether you're agency folk or whether you're professional services, that bit where you're generally not talking about masses of customers, that relationship need is even stronger.
Yeah.
And you've talked a couple of times, I mentioned the word proactive. Mm-hmm. What should we be proactive about?
Proactive in as much as being proactive in your thinking and how you can proactively help your clients better, being proactive in the way you build your relationships and you listen to them. So you actually, and you proactively listen, you put the processes in place so that you're going to be talking to your clients to certain, regularly, not just once a year, to then listen and feedback with your clients, but then also proactively thinking about what your clients could benefit from, what you could be doing more of, not just throwing ideas at them of we can do X, Y, and Z, and seeing if it sticks. You have to proactively look at what their strategy is. Is it something they want, to make sure that you can actually deliver? So kind of proactivity, it's hard. You can't really pinpoint it as one thing. It falls under so many different areas. But, it might be proactively just picking up the phone and making sure that the client is actually going to be meeting you for a meeting. It's just Don't
Yes.
assume anything. Just make sure that you're trying to make sure you're doing things to being engaged with your clients.
And for those of us who are old school, the picking up the phone thing is, it's amazing because you just learn. For me, meeting people, and I've spent most of this week actually out and about in London, just having conversations with people. No massive agenda to them, but my word, do I learn so much about what's going on in the industry.
Yes.
And that bit is a real pleasure. And as marketeers, we should do more of this because that connection gives us a real instinctive feeling about what's going on out there. And certainly in social, yes, social listening has a part to play, but actually I find particularly in B2B and professional services, that ability to actually understand what matters to the customer is fabulous because it just sort of sits in the back of your head.
Yes.
The trigger comes along and you go, oh my God, this is what we should be focused on.
Exactly.
Nuance, right.
Yes. I've just done a post on LinkedIn, which is love isn't just for Valentine's Day, in as much as actually you've got to proactively think about how you can engage with your clients so that they love you more, so that they will refer you and build relationships with you. And it's all, all that, that you've got to think about how you can build stronger human relationships with your clients, and in person is absolutely critical.
And I think, from your report, there were a couple of stats just talking about, relationships and thought leadership. 49% of clients feel agencies lack thought leadership.
Yes.
That this is real industry. I'm blown away by that because, if your agency or professional services, your whole raison d'etre is your expertise.
Yes, absolutely. And it was really interesting doing the report. So what I've done is I interviewed agency leaders, and I'm comparing what they think their clients think or want compared to what the clients think. So from the insight I've had from client interviews, and so I've compared the two, and so things like communication. What was interesting was that the agencies really recognized that they need to do better with their communication, and they scored their communication a 78%. So obviously room for improvement. But the clients, although the clients do complain about it, their average score is 86%. And then the kind of the proactivity, agencies scored themselves a 71.5% of knowing that. And a strategy, 73% on the agency side versus 78% on the client side. So it's quite, I was really surprised actually. I thought that I was going to have different results. It was going to be the opposite, but actually, but there is definitely room for development and improvement.
Yes.
Kind of that side of things.
Thomas come up with a great comment, and yes, he watched me slide into that. I like to pick up the phone bit. I don't blame you, Tom. It was a very snidey Katy. I don't mean it. Tom has written, engaging with clients is key, but picking up the phone for young marketeers can be difficult. Perhaps it's a generational thing. And perhaps it is, and perhaps it's just, the world has changed. I grew up in a world where there was, when I started my career, there was no mobile phones. You had a work number and it was okay to call. So I don't mean it like that. I kind of mean that there needs to be occasionally an off the cuff chat, and that could be, a video call, or it could be, going and grabbing a lunch and just saying to your client, guess what, I'm going to be in town this week. I'd love to take you out for a pret. It doesn't even have to be very a big thing. And just sometimes we need to remember that we don't just need to talk about work.
I
think is not saying you have to be I'm getting married next week, but it's widening out that field can give you that opportunity to really understand the challenges that your clients are having, and that should be very much fed back into marketing, because we look at what are the real pain points of of clients. I love. Sorry, Tom's just followed up. It's distracted me, but he's not calling me an old.
Good, because I'm the same as Katy. So, but I think things. I mean, to be fair, I think things have changed. I think that people don't expect you to phone them now, and there are kind of new rules. But like you say, there are other ways of doing it. Try and go to. I always think my focus with marketing is where are your clients and where are your potential clients in person? Where do they go? Go to those events, meet them in person.
Yes,
shake their hand. Have a drink, and just try to, think about how your clients want to be engaged with, or your potential clients. Ask them, can I pick up the phone? If they say no, that makes me feel terrified. Fine, don't do that. But it's about, again, it's that back to the onboarding, is you understanding what your clients want will help you to have a better relationship with them.
And I think, you talking about events. So I went to the FinTech B2B marketing conference, and as a marketeer, oh my God, did I hear? I just went around asking people, what's marketing like at the moment? What are the bosses asking you to do? What are your focuses? All these things. I mean, just as a marketeer, wow! I walked away and went, that has added flesh on the bones of things I thought were happening, or I'd seen data on what was happening, which is, short-termism. Why is there short-termism? So having that conversation got into a little bit more of the detail, which allows me then to, tweak my marketing so that I can address those issues, or at least recognize them. Even if I haven't got a solution to them, I can recognize that, it as much as we'd like to go, oh, you shouldn't be short-term in your marketing. The reality is, we're in an economic world where actually that does matter, because we've all got to pay bills.
Yes.
And for many businesses, that is where we're at. And there is an acceptance that, we have to understand that. So anyway, I'm ranting. God bless.
I think it's an interesting one, is also remembering that, of course, it takes, I can't remember the exact stat, but 7 engagements, good engagements with a potential client before they convert. And so writing content, that's great. Doing social, that's great. But meeting people in person, that's much more important, because you're building the trust. You're building the engagement. Do you like this person? Could you work with them? Just reading a post from them, you're not going to get it. Video is a good start. Doing events, doing roundtables, doing things where you can actually start to have conversations. It's building the human relationship with your clients or your potential clients, so that you can actually get them so they want to work with you or not, and vice versa. So I think it's so important to, I see so many people just I'm doing more content, but are you taking the time to actually build relationships?
Yeah.
And I think there's too much content out there. I think it's important, but I think it's important to actually remember. Yeah, and again, that's one of the things I say about AI, is it's a tool. My business is called Brilliant and Human. Obviously, I like the human engagement thing. You might have picked that up. But I use it here and there as a tool. But the time I save with it, I can then take the time to build human relationships with people. So that's how I position AI. Excuse it for.
Well, your report was. The report data, super interesting. 71% feel AI-generated content lacks the personal touch that builds trust.
Yeah.
So we either have to get way better at using it, or, as you say, readjust it, rather than just trying to put lots of content out there. It's very clear that, that these are just tools, but they are not a replacement for thinking.
No. No, it's really interesting.
So I think we've covered everything we hope to do. We've talked about proactivity. You'll touch on AI. The need to really, I think we've banged on a little bit about how the need to keep connecting to it. And as marketeers, that is part of our role, is to understand how we can better service our clients and customers, how we can gain advocacy. What have I missed?
I think you probably covered everything. Like that, the idea of looking at processes, proactivity, communication, making sure that you are engaging with your clients and looking how you can improve things, and listening. I mean, that kind of proactive listening is key.
Exactly. So I've popped the link. You can see it in the banner, but actually I'll put it in the notes as well afterwards, so that you can get the link to the report. And you've got a round table coming up.
Yeah, I've got a round table on the 5th of March, which is how to help your clients be better clients. Because the idea, often complaints from clients are or the issues within a business are because the clients are annoying and causing the trouble. So, but ultimately it's about onboarding. It's about building the relationship, setting the expectations, and making sure that you can help your clients be better, happier clients, so that you have an ongoing, happier relationship. So that's what the round table's all about. So
pop a link
that would be great. Thank you.
Join if they want to.
And I'll be sharing some of the report there. So yes, and that's coming out kind of, as I say, the end of March, and then I've got a launch on the 3rd of April, I think. Early days.
Yeah, planning.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Remeny.
Well, thank you. It's been fun.
It's been fun, hasn't it? Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. I hope you're going to go and do something interesting, exciting, or nothing at all. I'm going to get my duvet out and sit there and watch some telly, I think, this evening. So I'm too tired.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, it's like, husband. Yeah, whatever. But I hope you all have a lovely weekend. And thanks again, Remeny.
Thank you so much. Take care. Thank you.